All right, folks, we are going live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And today, folks, we are going to be talking about a 50-year mortgage. It was just announced just a couple of days ago. In fact, it was on NBC News last night. It was on CNBC this week about Trump wanting to push through a 50-year mortgage. Oh my goodness. And I want to thank my man Kirk Nugent for instructing me on how to finally broadcast not just in landscape, but also portrait mode so that we can go live on Instagram as well. Kirk Nugent is the man. So if you want to know anything about going live or listen, look him up. Kirk Nugent, look him up if you want to set up. He set up our studio. He taught us everything we know about going live, and we appreciate that. So Kirk, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Now, folks, what prompted this week was I had a conversation with two types of people. One was a real estate investor. The other one was a residential homeowner who just could not see their way clear on how to optimize interest. And I'm going to show you exactly what I offered to show them after. Listen, you want to hang out here. When we get back, we're going to get started and we're going to show you some things that are going to absolutely blow your mind today. So we'll be back right after our introduction. See you in a minute. Oh my goodness, you are going to want to see what we have going on here. All right, let me see if I can, something is going on with my scenes here. Let me see if I'm still live on Instagram. Let me bring that up. I believe that we are. Okay, good. All right, folks, let me put this on the screen right now, okay? And I've got some comments coming in already. Flowers says hi. How are you doing, Flowers? Watching me on YouTube. All right, folks, I got a lot of screens to watch. So if you put some notes up on Instagram, it's going to take me a while to get there because I'm looking at 5 screens, okay? But let me put this on the screen right now, and we're going to go over some of the things that people that we need to talk about today, okay? So let me share this screen. All right, hide that and share the screen. All right, and let's see here. And there we go. All right, so here's what I want you to see right now, right from the top, okay? Right from the top. We want to go here, okay? Why most real estate investors stay trapped in the status quo, okay? Because of how, good morning, LaShawn, how are you doing? Oh my goodness, I hope your husband is with you. Let me put this on the screen here. I just met LaShawn here last week here in Huntsville, Alabama, at a conference, and it was off the chain. All right. Tabitha Brown was here. E.T. was here. Listen, all sorts of folks were here, and we learned how to dream. All right. And listen, you have to believe and you have to dream and you have to have a vision. So we had a really, really good time with that. So, LaShawn, thank you for being here this morning. Okay, let me see who else is here. And all right, good. So listen, folks, this is why this is information from behavioral economists. Okay, this is, and the reason why we are stuck in the way that we are doing things is because this is the way it's taught everywhere else. Everywhere. All types of financial education, whether it's high school or at the graduate level, at the top universities, anywhere. This is how it's taught. But at the P.I.L.L method, we go against the grain. Let me tell you why. I have autism spectrum disorder. So when I look at an amortization schedule, I see things other people do not. I see things in pictures and patterns, and I'm going to share with you those same pictures and patterns today that I see, but I first want you to see what keeps people from moving forward on this information. So why most real estate investors stay trapped in the status quo. Even smart, experienced investors are prone to mental traps that keep them from optimizing their portfolio performance, especially when it comes to interest cost and amortization strategy. Listen, folks, interest cost is different from interest rate. You need to know how much interest you're consuming each and every month and reduce the cost of your interest to reduce the cost of borrowing money. Okay. You want to reduce the cost of borrowing money. All right. So if you're on, I want to tell you, this is the first time that we've done that we're on landscape and portrait mode. If you're on YouTube, you can choose which one you want. You can either watch us in landscape or you can watch us in portrait mode. You can choose. This is the first time we're doing this. Now, watch this. Watch this part. The first thing we're going to go over is status quo bias. I need you to look these things up. This is going to be recorded. So look these terms up on your own time. You'll see why it is so hard to do the right thing by you when we're taught the wrong thing our entire lives, and we're taught by experts that this is the right way to think about our finances. They've mastered acquisition, cash flow, and rehab, so they assume what's working doesn't need to change. They'll fight to protect familiar methods even when the data proves those methods cost hundreds of thousands in unnecessary interest. Listen, folks, I don't care. If you've been an investor, a real estate investor, for 30 years and you have hundreds of doors, it doesn't matter. Because you use mortgages, it doesn't make you an expert in mortgages. No more than driving a car for 30 years makes you a mechanic. We need to understand the rules of the game, and nowhere in the United States or around the world are they being taught how to read, understand, and defeat an amortization schedule. We're not taught that. Nowhere. Okay. So if we're not taught that, what you're given is the way to look at debt, the way that it makes the bank more money, even if it feels like you're winning. And that's when they really get you. When you feel like you're winning, you're actually losing. All right. Loss aversion. The fear of doing something different feels riskier than the guaranteed losses baked into every amortization loan. And I'm going to show you some of these things today. In reality, they're losing silently every month through invisible interest costs, but the pain isn't obvious, so they tolerate it. See, you don't miss what you can't measure. And we're taught not to measure. Investors are emotionally attached to their current strategies. And here's the current strategy, folks. Cash flow. I'm making cash flow. I'm making bank. All right. And my tenants are paying the mortgage. That's what we're taught. No, your tenants aren't paying the mortgage. Your tenants don't have a mortgage. Your tenants have rent. They're paying you. You pay the mortgage. I'm going to show you today, as a real estate investor, how you can hang on to more of that money that your tenants are paying and stop giving it to the bank in unnecessary interest. And at the same time, you can continue to invest. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. You can continue to invest, but you can also pay the bank 75 or 80% less interest, not interest rate, but total interest cost. We're going to be going over that today. Okay. System justification bias. Oh, you need to really look up this one. They believe this is just how real estate works, as if interest cost, 30-year mortgages, and refinancing are laws of nature instead of financial constructs designed by lenders. So they defend the system that's quietly draining their profits. Oh my goodness. Okay. Number 5, cognitive dissonance. And this is real, folks. When confronted with P.I.L.L methods math, that their low rate loan is still bleeding massive interest, they experience discomfort. It's easier to reject the new truth than to admit they've been measuring the wrong thing all along. Oh my, oh my. Okay, sunk cost fallacy. Because they've invested so much time and energy and money into building portfolios, and they're very successful, by the way. Under the old paradigm, they hesitate to pivot, even though doing so will accelerate their wealth dramatically. You know, so it's okay to be rich, but do you want to be mega rich? Do you want to take that money that you're giving to the bank and invest it for yourself instead of treating interest as the cost of doing business? So I was talking to a real estate investor, okay? And they were saying that what I was teaching was actually going to put people in a bad financial situation. So when they were mentioning 30, 40-year loans and 50-year loans, I came out in defense of 50-year loans, not for the purpose of, you know, you don't get a 50-year loan because of affordability. You get a 50-year loan because it's strategic and it'll make you a ton of money if you know what's going on. So one of the questions I was asked, ladies and gentlemen, and listen, and if you're on Clubhouse, you know who this is. I'm not going to mention his name because maybe he'll decide to come on over to the dark side and listen to what we're talking about. Okay, they'll take the red pill and go down the rabbit hole and learn a few things. But they said that 50-year mortgage over the first 5 years is going to cost a lot more. Now, this is called mental accounting. You would think in a 50-year mortgage, you automatically start paying more interest right off the top. I'm going to show you some things that are going to blow your mind right now about several types of mortgages. Here is a $305,000 mortgage at 6.5% for 180 months. Folks, that is 15 years. And do you know that this same person said that they would recommend getting a 15-year mortgage if you can afford it and if it could still cash flow? I'm saying, I'm going on record, don't ever, 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 don't ever, don't ever, 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 don't ever get a 15-year mortgage, because you don't need permission to have a 15-year mortgage. Don't you sign a document that says this is a 15-year mortgage. Don't ever do it, because here's why. If you don't know anything about the P.I.L.L method, you don't know, you've never met me, you've never seen my videos. In fact, let me remind you, to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, our YouTube channel. You've never met us. You've never heard anything. All right. All you know is there's 15-year mortgages, there's 30-year mortgages, there's 25-year mortgages. And listen, they're trying to introduce 50-year. Now, watch this. This is the payment on a 30-year mortgage, on a 15-year mortgage, $2,656.88. Okay. Here is the payment on a 30-year mortgage. Okay. $1,927.81. Did you know that if you don't know anything about how to get a mortgage, you can get a 30-year mortgage and make the 15-year payment if you wanted to? Why lock yourself into this huge payment when you don't have to? Just figure out what the 15-year payment would be, get your 30-year mortgage and make the 15-year payment. And if things get tight, ladies and gentlemen, guess what you could do? Yeah, you can drop back to your 30-year payment and still be on time. But if you get caught up in this huge payment, $2,656.88, you get caught up in that, and the tide turns against you, you're stuck with this payment. You better believe you are. And if you can't make it, somebody's coming to get that house. So never, ever, ever, ever get a 15-year mortgage. Now, I need you to watch this, because here was the first thing that this real estate investor said to me. You're going to pay a lot more interest with the 50-year mortgage. And to prove it, he asked me a question. How much interest will you pay in the first 5 years? I need you to look closely at this and watch it again when you can. Okay, watch it again. This is a 15-year mortgage, and I want you to see on $305,000, I want you to see the very first interest payment. Here it is. The very first interest payment is $1,652.08. That is the first interest payment on a 15-year mortgage. Here is the first interest payment on a 30-year mortgage. Here it is. $1,652.08. What? Here is the first interest payment on a 40-year mortgage. Let's get to the first payment. $1,652.08. And here is the first interest payment on a 50-year mortgage. It is $1,652.08. Let me start this process all over again and look at the first 5 years on all of these mortgages, because this is where the bank is getting us. This is where this is the part we don't understand, and the bank never, ever, ever, ever wants you to understand how easy it is to disrupt their way of charging us interest. Okay, so Jesus is saying here, it's easier. Come on, Jesus, what do you got? It's easier to come up with a 30-year mortgage payment than a 15-year mortgage payment in case of emergency, with flexibility to treat the 30 like a 15-year mortgage. Jesus, flesh and blood did not reveal that unto you. Okay, thank you very much for being here today and watching us on YouTube. And I hope you and your friends have subscribed to our YouTube channel. So folks, I need you to see this. I need you to see something on this 15. Let's go to the 15-year mortgage and look at the first 5 years. Okay, and then I'm going to break down to you the difference and why the banks promote the 15-year mortgage, why they promote all these mortgages, and they hope you never understand what's going on with prepayment. You know, we want to optimize prepayment so that we can control how much interest we actually pay, and how to get rid of payments and how to gain equity faster And most importantly, we can gain equity cheaper. Oh my goodness. So let's take a look at the first 5 years of interest. Okay, that's 60 months. Okay, on a 15-year mortgage, $88,399.81. That's the first 5 years. Okay. On the 30-year mortgage, here's the first 5 years worth of interest, 96,000. So it's a little different. Okay, it's a little different. All right, 96,000. On the 40-year mortgage, it is 97,699, almost equal to the 30-year mortgage. Here's the fifth. That's the 40-year mortgage. This is the 50-year mortgage. Let's go down and let's take a look at that. 98,407. That's 50 years. 40 years, 97,699. 30 years, 96, 181. And the 15-year for the first 5 years, 88,399.81. So Don, it looks like if I have a lesser term, okay, I'm going to pay less interest. Let me show you what all the experts are talking about on TV. Here's what they're pointing out. If you have a 15-year mortgage at 6.5%, okay, at 6.5%, you're going to, if you keep it for all 15 years, you're going to pay $173,000 in interest. That's what they're pointing out. Okay. You keep a 15-year mortgage for 15 years. Okay. That's the first thing. Whether it's a 15-year, a 30-year, or 40-year, or 50-year, you're never supposed to keep them for the entire term. If you have, listen, I've gone to cities where they have $200,000 cars, $300,000 cars. And if you buy that car on time, you want to make payments. Guess what? That car has to be, your $200,000 car in Houston, Texas, has to be paid off in 7 years. No more than 7. They will not give you a 30-year loan on a $200,000 car. So if you can pay off a $200,000 car in 7 years, why does it take 30 years in the same Houston, Texas, to pay off a $200,000 house? I'm telling you, folks, because listen, even if you're a real estate investor, that's how you're looking at it. My tenant is paying that, so why do anything else? I'm just going to keep this loan for 30 years or whatever. I'm going to cash out refi, but you are not counting the cost of interest to get that equity out of the house. We're going to go over that today. All right. So watch this, 173,000. This is how it's being taught. This is what they were talking about on TV just last night. If you have, this is the 30-year mortgage. Okay. The 30-year mortgage. And you're going to pay 300 and total interest paid is $389,1160 on 305,000. First of all, folks, think about this. $389,000 on a $305,000 loan. That's more interest than you borrowed. How is this number 6% of this number? Well, it's not. It's actually 127.5%. Why keep a loan for 30 years that's going to charge you 127.5% and they get to call it 6.5%? Makes no sense to me. When I look at an amortization schedule, I see it differently. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at the 40-year mortgage. Okay. Now that's 181%. They want $552,000 on a $305,000 loan. And if we go to 50 years, this is what people are looking at. If we go to 50 years, you're not going to pay it off. But if you were to get a mortgage in your 20s and pay it off over 50 years, okay? When you're 70, you're going to pay $726,000 in interest on that. So your $305,000 mortgage will end up costing you $1,031,000. But folks, I'm here to tell you, we're taught to look in the wrong place. I need you to write this down. Okay, I need you to write this down. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Here is what the banks are looking for. Here's what they're looking for. When you make a payment, they want you to, they don't care what the payment is. What they care is how much of your payment they get to keep. Let's take a look at the 30-year. I'm going to move this over here. We're going to eliminate the 40-year for the rest of this show. We're going to take a look at the 30-year mortgage and the 50-year mortgage, and we're going to do some comparisons, okay? All right, so on the 30-year mortgage, I need you to see something. This is the first interest payment. It's the same, all right? But the principal payment is a little different. But if we take a look at the total payment, okay? Let's put our calculator on the screen. All right, let me do this. We're going to put a calculator on the screen. I want to show you why the banks do what they do, because they sell these mortgages to investors. And when they sell the mortgage to an investor, the investor wants to make a lot of money. Okay, this is how they make their money. Here's your total payment. All right, let me bring my calculator back up on the screen. For some reason, I took it off. All right, here it is. All right, so let's put this over here. All right, let's take a look at the very first payment. The total payment is $1927.81. $1927.81. But our first interest payment is $1652.08. So this is how we figure that out. Put in your first interest payment, $1,652, okay, and 8 cents. All right, and then divide it by the entire payment, which is $1927.81. So 1927.81. There we go. Equals 80.856, or 86% of your mortgage payment is interest. 86% of it. 86%. Yes, 86%. So that means out of every payment dollar, 86 cents out of every dollar, your investor that gets this payment, the investor that bought your mortgage, they keep 86 cents out of every dollar. You're paying off your mortgage with 14 cents out of every dollar. Is that what you want? But do you know that we can do the opposite of what the banks are telling us to do? Now, let me show you the real reason why they want you to go to 50-year mortgages and not be taught how this works. Let's go to the 50-year mortgage and look at the same thing, okay? 600 payments. We're going to look at the payment here, which is only a couple $100 difference. It's not that much difference between a 30-year and a 50-year. It's a couple of $100, okay? But the amount of money that they get to keep, watch this. So our payment is $17.19. Our interest payment is $1652.08. So let's bring our calculator back up on the screen. We're going to put in $1652.08, the very same interest payment that was on all the other mortgages, the very same amount of money, okay? $1652.08, and we're going to divide it by $1719.34, okay? Divide it by $1719.34. and 34 cents. Okay. Equals 96%. This is why they do it. 96% of your payment, the investor gets to discount your payment by 96%. And only 4% of your payment is paying down the principal. And they hope, they are praying that you never find the weakness in this system. Okay? Now, I want to show you something that you probably never seen before. When you control the principal payment, you control this loan. Everybody is trying to control the loan by interest rate or the term. But when you control the principal payment, you control the loan. You attack the loan with principal payments. Okay? Not interest rates. Okay? That's not what's going on here. So I need to show you something, and I'm going to bring up something that I wasn't going to do today, but before I get into the 50-year mortgage, let me show you something that's like a blast from the past. And we're going to bring up Brett Whistle here. Brett Whistle, who has this amortization calculator. I'm going to go back to the 70s, where the median home price was $70,000. Okay. And in that time, the 70s and 80s, did you realize that the interest rate got to 18%? Do you, on a 30-year mortgage? And have you ever wondered how your parents and your grandparents actually paid off that mortgage at 18%? They paid off their mortgage at 18%. And they're wondering, how come we can't pay off a mortgage at 3, 4, 5, and 6%, and even 7%? How come we have such a hard time paying off the mortgage when they did it at 18%? Let me show you what was going on. They didn't understand it. Mind you. They just know that it worked. And here's what's going on with this mortgage. Let me calculate it. The payment is $1,054.96. I need you to see how this payment breaks down. Look at this. Out of that payment, only $4.96 goes to interest. Principal. $1,000 goes to interest. And you're saying, how in the world were they able to pay this off if that is the case? I want to teach you something about mortgage mechanics right now. And that will help you to understand why I love the 50-year mortgage idea, not for affordability, but for strategic payments to kill interest and to gain equity faster and cheaper, because you control the principal payment. If we make this payment in January, February's principal payment is only $5.03. So if you make your full payment in January, did you know that you can prepay February's principal payment, $5.03, by giving the bank the $5.03 early? You're paid down to line 2 on this amortization schedule. This is what my brain sees, and I'm teaching it to you, and it goes against everything we've been taught. $5.03, I'm paid down to here in January, so my next mortgage payment is here on line 3, where $5.11 goes to principal and $1,049.85 goes to interest. That's my new February payment. That's how this works. So what if we did this? If I give this to the bank early, what happens to this $1,049.93 left on interest on line 2? What happens to that? And if you've seen my videos before, you know what happens to it. You never have to pay it. You just minimized, you just eliminated, you just canceled $1,049.93 worth of interest you never have to pay, and you did it because they were trying to take advantage of you at an 18% rate, but they found out, but they didn't want you to find out that the very same thing that has you at a disadvantage, if you flip it, if you turn it around and prepay the $5, you don't have to pay the $1,049.93. Or if you make this payment in January and you give them the $5 here, $10 now, we're going to give them $5, $10, $15 and change. $15 and change eliminates over $3,000 worth of interest you never have to pay, knocks off 3 payments you never have to make, and your next mortgage payment for February is now on line 5 because you control the principal payment. When you reduce the size, let me see, I got some notes here I was writing down. And when you reduce the size of the principal, you increase the leverage action for yourself. If you let the banks do what they do, their leverage is tremendous. If you reverse it, your leverage is 10 times more powerful than theirs. 10 times, 20 times more powerful than theirs, because I can prepay $5 and save $1,000 worth of interest. Oh my gosh. You know what the return on investment is on that? The ROI? What is the ROI on that? Let's bring up our calculator again. Okay. So to figure ROI, this is how you do it. I'm going to prepay this, but this is going to be my benefit. If I prepay, $1,049.93 is interest I don't have to pay. So how do I figure ROI on that? Okay. I take $1,049.93. I subtract what I invested, which would be the $5.03. That's my net benefit, $1,044.90 I don't have to pay. Now I take what I'm investing, the $5.03 that I'm paying ahead of time, all right, and I divide that by $5.03. When I get the answer, then I multiply it by 100. This is exactly what I got from Google, okay? Then when I get this answer, I multiply it by 100. Here's the answer, 207. Now I multiply it by 100. There it is. 20,773% return on your money. Lord have mercy. 20,000%. Do you know how long you have to keep $5 in the bank to make $1,049.93? This is 20,000% return on your money. Folks, if you understand what I'm talking about, if you take a look at all the principal payments that you are making in 1 year, look at this. All the principal pay, this column adds up all your principal payments, is $64.67. If I make one prepayment and get rid of $1,000 worth of interest, and I look at how much interest, how much principal I would pay down in 1 year, what if I had an extra $64.67? I don't have to pay the $64.67 the way the bank wants me to, because if I did, every time I make a small payment of $5 towards my loan, I got to give them $1,000. But every time I skip and give it to them early, I don't have to pay the $1,000. So if I'm looking at the $64.67, ladies and gentlemen, and I choose to say, listen, I got a few ducats in the bank, why don't I give them the $64.67 on line 1? And let me see what would happen. Let me bring up our calculator and let's do the math. Okay. All right. We have a $70,000 loan. We're going to subtract $64.67. Okay. Subtract $64.67 because we're going to give it to them early. Okay. 67. There we go. Equals 69,935.33. That's exactly what I have here on line 12. So, Don, what you're saying is if I give the bank the $64.67 early, okay, you mean I don't have to give them, I'm paid down to line 12 in 1 month. I skip all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12. I save myself $11,545.73 in interest I never have to pay. I need you to focus in here closely. If you do it the bank's way, to pay your loan down by $64.67 will cost you $12,594.85 if you do it their way. But if you give it to them early, you give it to them when they're not expecting it, you make it impossible for them to charge you all of that interest. It makes it impossible for them to charge you. So if you give them that money early, you give them the payment early, plus the additional $64.67. Lord have mercy. You're paid down to here in 1 month, and you skip all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12, which total $11,554.73. So if you give them money this early, you paid down to here in 1 month. Not for $12,594.85, but for the interest cost of only $1,050, you're paid down to here. So you get your equity for $1,000 instead of $12,500. Tim Brown says, do you, okay? So here's what Tim Brown is asking here. He's watching us on Facebook. All right. Do you tell them to make that payment towards your principal amount? Tim, you only have to do that if you have escrow, if you have an escrow account, because a lot of banks, credit unions, or mortgage companies, their default, if you have an extra payment and you're escrowing, meaning your taxes and insurance is part of your mortgage payment, the default is to put any extra money into the escrow account. So you have to let them know, I need to put this on principal. But it's so easy now because everything is online. You go to your bank, your credit union, your mortgage company, and chances are there, if you go to the payment section, there's a line there that says principal payment only. And that is telling them, I want this money to go to principal. So you put that on there. You put that on there, and it has to go to principal. But if you're not escrowing, you're paying your taxes and insurance on your own, and you give them any money that they're not expecting, it has to go to principal. There's no place else it can go. You do not have to tell them anything. I want this. It has to go to principal. When you make an extra payment that month, okay, and it's in your mortgage papers, okay, you can make a prepayment at any time. And when you do, no interest comes out of that money, and all of your prepayment goes to principal. It's written in your contract. We've just never been taught how to read it. Tim says, okay. LaShawn says, wow, look at that. LaShawn is a real estate investor, ladies and gentlemen, and she's eating this up, okay? Now, I went through all of this to show you why I like 50-year mortgages, and I need you to understand this. Oh, you know what? I haven't checked on our friends on Instagram. Let me pull up my Instagram screen here. All right. And let me pull up my Instagram screen. All right. All right. And see, people are watching. All right. But no comments. Okay, good. All right. I just wanted to make sure. All right. So we'll take that off. We'll put our screen back on. All right. So, folks, here's what you want to know. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments I skip don't matter. Oh, Lord. Interest payments you skip don't matter. I need you to, it doesn't matter how much interest they're asking for. What matters is how much interest you end up paying. Okay. Hey, Gladys, Casey, I see you watching us on Facebook. So let's get into this 50-year mortgage. I showed you what happens if you control the principal payment. Let me show you what's going on with all of these mortgages now. We've got the 50-year mortgage here. That's our program that runs everything. Okay, we have the 50-year mortgage where they want all of this interest. Okay, and remember when I was showing you on the 50, here's the 30. Okay, here's the this is the 40. I'm going to get rid of the 40. No, I'm going to keep it. All right, and this is the 15. Okay, I want to show you the difference between all these mortgages that makes all the difference in the world. Remember, control the principal payment and you control this loan. Okay, so on a 15-year mortgage, this is why I don't recommend it. On a 15-year mortgage, I need you to take a look. The principal, the interest payment on all three mortgages is exactly the same. But if I have a 15-year mortgage, how much money do I have to come up with to eliminate 1 month on this mortgage? Well, you can prepay anything you want, okay? But to get rid of 1 month's worth of interest, one total month of interest, you have to come up with over $1,000 to prepay. That gets rid of this $1,646.64, okay? On a 30-year loan, okay? On the 30-year loan, you just have to come up with $277.22 to get rid of 1 month. This is the key. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments I can skip don't matter. I can come up with $277 easier than I can for $1,000 to get rid of 1 line. Okay. On the 50-year mortgage, here it is. All I have to do to get rid of the same amount of interest is come up with $67.62. This is where they get us. We have to do the opposite of what we've been taught for this thing to work. If you want to know, listen, we have can you see this? I need to see some comments. Can you see what I'm talking about? Does this make sense to you? Okay. Why is it that we're stuck in our way of thinking? Is because we're so used to it. And I'm showing the numbers here. And if you get this as a strategic move, let's take a look at 1 year on all of these mortgages. Okay. 1 year of principal payments on all of these mortgages. Okay. This is the 40-year. Okay. On the 40-year, I could prepay $1,651 to get rid of 1 year. Okay. On the 15-year, look at this. I have to prepay $12,000 to get rid of 1 year on this mortgage. On the 30-year, I just have to come up with $3,400 to get rid of 1 year. And on the 50-year, watch this, to get rid of 1 year. Look, this is $19,000 worth of interest here. This is $19,000 worth of interest here. On a 50-year mortgage, all I need is $831.58 to get rid of 1 year. Do you see what we're talking about now? Do you see why it's going to be easier to pay this thing off in 7 years? Because when you lower the principal payment, you increase your leverage action by several times. And we're not taught that. We're not taught that at all. Let's take a look at 5 years. 5 years on this thing, that's 60 payments, $4,700 on the 50-year payment, on the 50-year loan, gets rid of over $90,000 worth of interest and knocks off, okay, 5 years off of this thing. Yes, Gladys, that's exactly it. Gladys says, what? On a 50-year mortgage, I could prepay $4,700, knock off $90,000 in interest, and knock 5 years off this loan. Okay. On a 30-year mortgage, okay, I can come up with $3,400. On a 15-year mortgage, wait a second, I did that wrong. Okay. 60 payments. Okay. 60 payments here. I want to go to 60 payments here. $19,000, okay, to get rid of this much interest. But when it comes to the 15-year mortgage, I got to prepay $71,000 to knock off 5 years. This is where they get us. This is how they keep their percentages higher, by offering us lower terms and lower interest rates. We think we're beating the game by getting the lower interest rates, when in fact, the higher interest rates will actually work better for us. The longer terms will actually work better for us. I'm not saying get the 50-year mortgage for affordability. I'm saying get the 50-year mortgage because it's a strategic play. And you can murder this thing. This is why amortization is not taught at any level of financial education. Listen, if you're here in Clubhouse, all right, ask your questions. Come up to the stage. If you're watching us online, ask some questions so that you can understand what's going on here. Let me take a look at the rest of my notes that we're talking about here, because the way interest is taught now and mortgages, okay, let me take this off the screen for now. Okay. The way it's taught right now, it's a mystery because we don't understand it. We've never been taught. But we're made to believe we can master the system by listening to the experts. Folks, it remains a mystery. If we want to master it, we want to learn how to leverage our money so that we can position ourselves to pay a lot less interest. Can you believe I forgot to put my phone on silent this morning? Can you believe that? Okay. So here it is. The secret, all right, to all of this is your right to prepay on these mortgages. Okay. Well, Don, what if there's a prepayment penalty? I don't care about prepayment penalties. Okay. I don't care about prepayment penalties. Why? Why don't I? Okay. So if I have a prepayment penalty on a commercial property, okay, this is the 50-year mortgage, okay, and they're going to give me on. I've got a client right now that's getting ready to close on a 50-year mortgage because the P.I.L.L method does what's called DSCR loans, okay? Debt service coverage ratio loans. So if you need a refinance or if you want to buy a commercial property that's non-owner occupied, contact the P.I.L.L method, ceodon.com, and we'll get you a very good rate on your mortgage. We'll also get you great terms. We'll also teach you how to gain equity 5 to 7 times faster and be able to cash out refi 10 to 15 years sooner. But if you want one of these loans, you get that. So here's what we're talking about. If we prepay, and on that loan that we're closing on, my client was kind of concerned that there is for the first 60 months a 5% penalty on prepayments. 5% penalty on prepayments. They were concerned until I showed them that if this was their loan, okay, and they prepaid $3,600 here, okay, So let's take a look at that. 3675.59 times 0.05, that's 5%, equals $183.78. But they would save $77,000 in interest. So I'm asking, would you pay $183 so that you could save $77,000 in interest? Prepayment penalties are designed for one thing and one thing only, so that you don't do the math and keep on paying to avoid a penalty. Because when we hear penalty, all we do is avoid. We never do the math. We're doing what's called a opportunity cost calculation with only half the data. We're doing a mental accounting thinking that the 5% penalty is huge, so we want to avoid it. But we don't know what we're going to get if we prepay. Does this make sense, everybody? Everything they're teaching us is wrong. We need to do the opposite. Okay? We need to do the opposite. Okay? So yeah, the prepayment on this, on $3,657, that is $183.78. Let me take a look at my other notes I wrote down here. Okay. So we want to master this thing. We don't want it to become a mystery. Okay. Because it says, we want to make sure that we understand you have the right to prepay. Okay. I want to show you some of the things that people have to be concerned about if they are residential home buyers. Okay. I want to make sure we get that. If you're a residential home buyer, there's still stuff that you need to know about what's going on here. So let me bring that up for you. Okay. And we will share the screen. Right. This is the information on real estate investors. This is what homeowners fear. Let's go over this. Okay, we put this together for you. The psychology of fear, comfort, and cognitive dissonance. This is what homeowners go through when they hear the P.I.L.L method for the first time. Most homeowners don't stay in debt because they want to. They stay there because of powerful, invisible forces in the mind. Even smart, responsible people make decisions that keep them paying 2 to 3 times the cost of their homes in interest. Okay, loss aversion. Now, all of these terms are terms used by economists that study financial behavior. They're called behavioral economists. So you can look up all of these terms on your own. You can use ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever AI, or even Google, and look up these terms, each one of these terms. Okay. Loss aversion. I don't want to lose what I have. Listen to this. People fear losing comfort, stability, or control, even if freedom is on the other side. They tell themselves, I don't want to mess up my credit. I don't want to change what's working. At least I know what to expect every month. So they stay in a known pain instead of exploring a better way. I see this all the time. I saw this week. I saw both of these people, these kinds of people this week. The real estate investor that wants to stay there. I saw the home buyer that wants to stay there. They saw the numbers. It says, yeah, it looks good, but is there a way that this could backfire on me? I'm going to continue. We're going to save them over half the interest they had left to pay. And they chose to keep on paying the interest than working with us because they were afraid of the system. Okay. Cognitive dissonance. I've been doing it wrong. What does that really mean? Okay. When the P.I.L.L method reveals that their 3% mortgage still costs hundreds of thousands in interest, homeowners face an uncomfortable truth. The bank's definition of affordable isn't the same as cost effective. Your payment may be affordable, but they're taking a huge chunk out of your payment and keeping it for themselves. The payment is affordable. But my goodness, why give up 60, 70, 80, even 90% of your payment so that the bank can keep it, so the investors can keep it? You want to take that money and invest it in your family. Okay? Rather than face the truth, most dismiss it and cling to the belief that everyone pays interest. That's just how it works. Folks, are you ready for something different? Are you ready to do something different today? All right. Listen, you see crawling across the screen, go to ceodon.com and get a savings and earnings report. If you want to know how to get this thing done, if you want to know how you can save a ton of interest, okay, and know the month, day, and year you could be debt free, go to ceodon.com and request a savings and earnings report, and you can know the month, the day, and the year you can become debt free. Yes, you can. Okay. And you get that for free. Watch this now. Okay. Comfort zone fallacy. I'm fine where I am. Homeowners have been conditioned to see the mortgage as a permanent companion, not a temporary financial tool. All mortgages are tools. We help you to sharpen that tool so it works for you. Right now, it's working for the bank because we have not been taught how it works. They find comfort in routine payments, not realizing that every month of inaction silently transfers wealth to the lender. Why would you give the bank 75 or 80% more interest than they need just to pay off your house? You can pay off your house a lot less with a lot less interest and take that money, that $200,000, that $300,000 that they were looking for, and you can invest that in your family's wealth. And listen, for most of our clients, because we can save them that much interest, they can take that money, and if they invest it instead of giving it to the bank, working a W-2 job, they can become millionaires by investing the interest money they were giving away. We show people that every single day. Every single day. Okay, now, normalization of debt. Here's another one. Normalization of debt. They see debt as normal, something everyone has, instead of a system designed to extract wealth from working families. This belief kills urgency and replaces it with quiet resignation. LaShawn Brown, LaShawn Glenn, what are you saying here? What are you saying? She says, I'm going to set up all my clients with you. What you're teaching is fantastic. LaShawn, listen. I have just been given this. It's not coming from me, it's coming through me. Okay. I didn't give myself autism spectrum disorder. I struggled in school, but this is my purpose for being on the planet, showing people how they can become better stewards of the money that God gives them. This is why I'm here. This is what I do. Okay. This is what we do. Okay. Now, here's the breakthrough, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the breakthrough. If you are a real estate investor, if you are a home buyer, okay? If you're a home buyer, okay, I want to show you something. Listen, I got to take this off the screen now. I want to remove this, and then I got two more things to show you. Okay, two more things to show you. How do we handle? Let me see here. Let's get rid of this. And we're going to do a new screen. All right. I want to show you something here that is absolutely amazing. Okay, two things. Watch this. I'm loading in the P.I.L.L method AI, the AI system that not just saves you money, but optimizes your money. You're going to move the right amount of money in the right month on the right day of the month to the right loan to optimize your interest savings per dollar. Every single dollar, every single quarter, dime, nickel, and penny will save you more interest. In fact, next week, I'll probably do a show on the power of the penny, how powerful your pennies are, and how much interest pennies can save. Oh my gosh, you're going to love that. You're going to love that one. Okay. So let me pull this up and I want to show you something here. Okay. We've been working with a $305,000 loan. Okay. And let me show you what's going on here with this family. Okay. All right, Derek Forston says, okay. Oh, wow. All right. He likes that. He likes that. Okay. He likes what he's seeing here. Watch this, folks. We're going to go into this is our program that runs everything. Here's what these folks have. They have $500 in the bank in their checking account. They have $7,000 in their savings account. They have a car loan of $4,400. They have a Discover card. They only owe $395 on that at 18%, but they have a student loan of almost $30,000 at 6.7%. They have a truck loan. They still owe $14,000 on that. A motorcycle at $5,000, and they have a mortgage of $304,932.75. They still owe $359,000. Okay. Oh, by the way, let me open this up. This is a 50-year mortgage that they've made one payment on, one payment out of 600. They still have 599 payments left. Okay. On their debt. Okay. This program has already figured out that they're going to save $644,000 in interest. Here, the amount of interest they have left to pay, they're going to pay off everything with only $99,000 in interest. How about that? Okay. They're going to pay everything off, including that mortgage, in 7.7 years using their current budget. You don't need to make more money, ladies and gentlemen. What you need is to pay less interest. That's it. We show you how to read an amortization schedule. We give you the tools and the education to pay a lot less. Let me show you something here. We're going to go to the action plan. I'm going to go quickly over what the program is doing. We have to record how much you are making. This is Rebecca's paycheck. When Rebecca gets paid here on 10/6, she just clicks execute. All right. Tells the program that she received her $17.50. She gets paid every 2 weeks. It disappears and it goes into her virtual checking account in the program, which matches her checking account at the bank. Okay. So every now and then she has to pay bills. Okay. The Discover card, the truck loan, the student loan, and we're tracking the bills being paid and the income coming in. When you see these little arrows, the program does all of the math and says, this is money you don't need for anything else. Take money from your checking account, put it in your savings account, and it tells you exactly how much. $816.08 for the Jones family right now. So on the 13th, they're going to put that in savings. They get another paycheck. Okay. Discover card payments. All right. They're saving up money for October and no extra payments to the debt. Okay. We're just making minimum payments. So when it comes to paying off debt, you don't put extra payments on the debt every single month. You first save the money, put it in your savings account out of money you don't have to spend to live. And that includes, look at this, everything else down here. This includes some money so that they can have a great lifestyle. They still go out to eat. They still go to the theater. They still go to baseball games. They have a good time, and they're going to pay off their 50-year mortgage and all other debt in 7.7 years. Okay? They've been on the program 1 month, and they've already saved $11,297 in interest they'll never have to pay the bank. Look at that. Okay? I need you to see what's going to happen in November, though. Okay? The same thing. They're just saving money. They're going to put another $800 in savings, all right, and pay the rest of their bills. But in December, look what the program does. The program is doing something a little bit different here, ladies and gentlemen. It's saying on this 50-year mortgage, if we prepay $3,469.91, if we prepay that, I want to show you what the math does. That's going to save them $73,483 in interest. This is money that they saved up in their savings account. They're going $3,469.91 because the program tells you exactly how much to pay and when to save 73 grand. So let's bring back up. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. It was 3469.91. And says, Don, how accurate is this that they can save $73,000? Let me bring back up the 50-year loan. Okay, let me bring back that 50-year loan. Okay, here is the 50-year loan. Let's make sure. Okay, here's the 50-year mortgage. All right, 50 years. All right, and so the amount was $3469.91. So we're going to go down cumulative principal till we get close to $3469.91. $3469.91 right in here. 3416, 3502, right around in here. That takes 45 payments off, almost 4 years off. Okay. And here is that $70,000 in interest that the program figured out for you. Oh my goodness. This is money that they saved up out of their budget. Money they did not have to spend. And this is their result. The program says, take $3,400 out of your savings account. Okay. Now, so Don, why were they taking all of their money out of their savings account? Oh no. They're not taking all the money out of their savings account to do this, because in their savings account, look at this. Okay, settings, preferences. In their savings account, they told the program, I want to keep $7,500 in savings at all time. Look at that, $7,500. And they're still out of debt in 7.7 years. But Don, what if they want to save more than that? What if they wanted to save $17,000, keep $17,000 at all times for emergencies? We'll just tell the program, I want to take 17,000. Let me show. Okay, we have 7.7 years. All right, we're going to tell the program we want to save 17,000, and instead of 7.7 years, we're at 7.9 years, and they're still going to get out of debt in record time. Oh my gosh, you can live well. You'll have more money put towards your retirement fund and save a ton of money in interest that you'll never have to pay the bank. Over $600,000. Folks, that's over $500,000 that you'll never have to pay. But it's easier to beat a 50-year mortgage than it is to beat a 15-year mortgage. You don't get a 50-year mortgage for affordability. You get it for strategy. If they ever get there, listen, I'm going to be recommending it to each and every one of our clients that use the P.I.L.L method. Do I recommend it for somebody who doesn't use the P.I.L.L method? No, I do not recommend it if you plan to make 600 payments to the bank. I don't recommend it at all. I do recommend it that if you get a mortgage for 600 payments and you want to give them, 78 or 80 payments instead, I do recommend it if you want to do that. Okay. So let's go back and actually tell the program, I want to do this. So I'm going to tell the program that we're going to the calendar. Okay. Oh boy, I messed up the thing. I have to reset it. Okay. I reset the I reset the program. All right. And let me just see if I have a mortgage is still set. Yeah, it's still set there. Okay. We go back to action plan. All right. And we tell the program that I want to preferences, put it back to the $7,500, because the more money I keep in savings, the longer it has to wait to put the money on the debt. So let's put it back to 7,500 and save it. There we go. All right, 7,500 and save it. Let me show you how this comes up in the program. Look at this. Actual is at $11,000 now. So we're in October. We're going to go through November. We're going to look at December, and we're going to take this $3,400, apply it to the debt. Okay. We're going to tell it that we're doing it today instead. Watch this. Watch what happens with this 73,000. I tell the program I'm going to execute that, and boom. We're already at 85 grand. They've been on the program for 2 months. They're already at 85 grand in interest save they'll never have to pay. They just knocked almost 5 years off this mortgage by doing this. So folks, don't get caught up in the old way of thinking about things. Just don't do it. Okay? So if you want a breakthrough here, here's what you do. The P.I.L.L method replaces fear with facts. Once you see your amortization schedule for what it really is, a wealth transfer chart, you can finally control your outcome with AI-powered precision. You can't optimize what you don't measure, and banks count on you never measuring. Okay? Founder of the P.I.L.L method. So right now, we're offering what's called a 90-minute challenge. You can sign up for a 90-minute challenge. You can spend 90 minutes with me getting this fantastic education and learning how all of this works for you individually, not as a group. This is a one-on-one session with me for 90 minutes. And by the time it's all over, you'll know the month, day, and year you could be debt-free and how much interest you can save. All right. And it is only $250. Reserve your private session, limited seats. Join your 90-minute AI-powered optimization challenge for only $250, a $499 value, and discover how to cancel interest, build equity faster, and achieve financial freedom, all without refinancing or changing your lifestyle. Okay. Here is the QR code. We're going to leave this up so people can absolutely get this QR code. You click on that QR code, that takes you to our calendar, and you can book and pay for your session, your 90-minute session with me to start learning this. Jesus has something to say here. All right. Jesus, what do you have to say? Okay. Jesus says, sounds like contributing to retirement accounts like 401k and Roth doesn't make sense while having a mortgage, the more I think about it. So listen, Jesus, here's what we want to do. There's a certain amount of money that needs to go towards debt reduction and interest cancellation, that's for sure. But what our program does, it keeps you from putting too much money towards debt reduction, because we count how much interest you can save per dollar. We want to make sure you save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. Okay. And once that maximum is reached, putting more dollars towards it only lowers the amount of interest you can save per dollar. Let me give you an example. If you could save $6 in interest for every dollar you apply to your debt, that would be great. But you don't want to put more money towards it so that you can only save $3 in interest for every dollar. You see, everything works backwards. The more you give the bank at any one time, the less interest you save per dollar. So you want to maximize the use of your dollars. Every dime, every penny maxed out to save the maximum amount of interest. And therefore, any other monies you have should be put in an investment to make compound interest for your family. You want to do both. It's not either or. It's both and. Save interest and make money with your money. You better believe it. Okay? So that's what's going on, Jesus. That's what's happening. So folks, click on that QR code. Okay? So this is going up on Instagram. This is going out on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Click the QR code. Sign up for your 90-minute challenge today. All right? Jesus says, thanks, Don. That made sense. Listen, folks, I just want you to know, I appreciate the thanks, but this didn't come from me. I want to repeat, it comes through me. God gives me this. I'm just giving it to you. And I want to make sure that people who want to know can take the resources that God is giving them and use them in a more efficient manner. Because if you use your money efficiently, it buys more. Okay? You can educate more. You can invest more. And you can sow into the kingdom more. If that's your belief, which it is mine. Okay? So, folks, I want to thank you for being with me today. This was exciting for me to be able to share this information with you. Okay? I want to, let me see if I can change this around just a little bit, make it even bigger on your screen. All right? So make sure you click, get that QR code. Okay? Get it. Or that link. All right. You can go back and watch this at any time and get the QR code and sign up for your 90-minute challenge. And I will take you through step up. It's a 10-step challenge. It takes 90 minutes to complete your homework on this thing. We're going to show you how to build your own amortization schedule. We're going to show you how to figure out how much interest you've already paid. We're going to show you how much it costs you to get into your current debt situation. We're going to show you all the things that you ever done to put yourself in a better position, how everything you've been taught actually puts the bank in a better position, and what you can do about it. This is all included in the 90-minute challenge. Don't miss out on this. Okay? Don't miss out on this. This price is not going to be around forever. Right now, it's only $250. You and your family. Listen, here's what I'll do for you. All right? If you have if you have sign up for this and you have a son or daughter that has a mortgage, everybody can get in on it. Okay? Share it with your group. Put it on the big screen TV, and everybody can do the challenge in your house. All right. For the same $250. You don't have to pay individually. I'll do that for you. I'll do that for you. I'll teach it to your whole family. Put it up on the big screen. Just bring your notebooks and we will work on this thing together. Folks, thank you so much for being with me today. This was a very, very important show. So I'm going to take this off the screen now. And let me see here. Where's my picture? There we go. And there it is. All right, good. All right. You know, I used to have an engineer here to push all the buttons for me. But he taught me, Kirk Nugent, here we go again. Kirk Nugent said, Don, you could do this yourself. You could do this yourself. And he stayed with me for over a year. Okay. And taught me how to do this. And he set up my studio. So Kirk Nugent, write it down. All right. Contact him if you want to have a studio, if you want to have a podcast. We have over 600 shows up. Watch us on our social media. Kirk Nugent taught this to me, and I appreciate him for that. All right, folks. Thank you again for being here. I'll be back next week with another subject. And what's going through my mind right now is the power of the penny, how to make your pennies more efficient. Listen, I pick up pennies in the parking lot. I'm just telling you, I pick them up. I have no shame. I pick up pennies in the parking lot because I know how much interest they can cancel. All right, folks. Let me get my theme music here ready to go. See you next week. LaShawn, thank you for being here. Everybody that came in, thank you for being here. However you're watching us, whether it was live or the replay, take advantage of this information. Do not let fear keep you in the same place. Let's move forward. Let's learn how loans actually were supposed to work from the beginning. And in that challenge, I'll even tell you the whole history, how we got here in the first place. All right. See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.